Race Spec. Stream on. Yep, audio is working as it should. Streams up, chats up, we're all good to go. Fantastic. Shouldn't be too far away from the start. I believe we were set for 16, but one driver's missing because they're not being particularly cooperative when it comes to sharing their EA ID. If we can't get their ID, we can't get them into the lobby. So, fun. But 15's more than enough. Hopefully we get to see some pretty decent racing. Alright. I believe that's a ready up signal. There it is. Get the show on the road. There's the timer. Hello everyone and welcome to round 13 of the America's Tier 1 Championship here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Everingham, your commentator for this event, and for tonight we'll be competing at Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix. Built all the way back in 1991, Barcelona has been the home of the Spanish Grand Prix every single year after its construction. Although there have been some highlight races over its tenure in the sport, the racetrack tends to develop mediocre racing more often than not. The circuit has changed quite a lot over the years, but in an effort to try and increase the excitement of the racing here, a decision was made this year in 2023 to use a layout not too dissimilar from the original circuit design made over 3 decades ago. The racetrack in its modern form measures up at 2.89 miles and consists of 14 corners and 2 DRS zones, which the drivers won't be using in qualifying, that lead down into the main overtaking spots of Turn 1 and Turn 10. The main feature of this new layout is, of course, the final 2 near flat-out corners of Turns 13 and 14. That will provide an excellent high-speed challenge for the drivers during both qualifying and in the race. Now, before we focus on this here very wet qualifying session, there is a little bit of news to go through first from the previous race at Las Vegas. There were no incident reports submitted in by the drivers last week. As a result, the final finishing positions from those races remain completely unchanged. In the Drivers' Championship, Axis is leading the way on 290 points, followed by Blockman, just 3 points behind on 287. Now, it's a shame Blockman isn't here for today's race. I noticed him comment in the chat. It is a shame. So, it's basically an open goal for Axis right here, right now. If he can string together a great race, score big points, he'll have a very healthy lead with only 2 rounds to go. P3 in the championship is Rebel on 211 points, followed by Saucy on 184, and KD rounds out the top 5 on 147 points. In the team's championship, Alpine have wrapped up the constructors quite handily. They're on 498 points, followed by AlphaTauri on 302. You can tell it wasn't even a contest. P3 in the standings is Red Bull Racing on 246, followed by Williams on 219, and Haas round out the top 5 on 162 points. That's pretty much it. In terms of news, someone is around already. That will be Drag King in the Alfa Romeo, losing control at turn 5. It appears to be Nico. That's the first car out on track on an outlap, getting ready to set a flyer. Intermediate conditions for this opening stage of qualifying, as Drag King has disqualified himself for driving the wrong way, because this game can't help but be ridiculously stupid. So, Nico, head up towards the final 2 corners. Might ride on board with the Williams driver. Give you a tour of this 2.9 mile Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Round the final corner and onto the main straightaway. Climb up through the gears and begin his first flying lap of the session. Down towards turn 1. Building up to a speed of just under 195 or 196 miles an hour, I should say. Round turns 1 and 2. A bit of lag there as we head around the long right-hand sweeper of turn 3. Losing control of the back end, but he keeps it under control at the exit of the corner. We head up towards turn 4. Down to 3rd gear. Short shifts up to 4th, up to 5th gear. We eventually reach full power and head into the hairpin of turn 5 as Captain Schmeg disqualifies himself for driving the wrong way. Down towards the kink of turn 6, into the chicane complex of turn 7 and 8. You want to be careful of this inside curve here at turn 8. That sausage curve, it's very, very nasty. You don't want to touch it. Round turn 9, a very tricky right-hander in either wet or dry conditions. We'll head down towards the turn 10 sweeper that leads into turn 11. For whatever reason, they class this as 2 corners. It really isn't 2 corners, but they class it as that anyway. Around turn 12, the short right-hand sweeper, and now around the final 2 corners, turns 13 and 14 on the racetrack. Nice and steady round the final corner, trying to keep it nice and stable. Nico will cross the line to set a 22.0. That's the benchmark for everyone else to try and beat. Don't think Jay will be getting anywhere near that. He's made a mistake on his lap. KD's making his way around the final corner and back onto the main straightaway. It's going to be a 22.393. Just over 3.5 tenths behind Nico. Saucy goes to 3rd with a 23.5. Luxury has invalidated. His time would have been good enough for P2. Coral makes his way onto the main straight, crosses the line to set a 22.3. He takes P2 away from KD. Copper Capado is making his way into the hairpin, or sweeper I should say, of turn 10. Used to be a tight hairpin. They decided to open this up back in 2021? Was that when they opened it up? I think it was 2021. It was either 21 or 22. But using this old layout through turns 13 and 14, this was introduced this year. Allows for excellent slipstream battles down the main straight heading towards turn 1. And the Brazilian jumps to the top with a 20.915. Rebel crosses the line as well. He jumps to 5th at 22.4. RF1 Tom goes to 3rd with a 22.1. Luxury, low on battery, might be on a push lap. We'll see what his time looks like at the end of the lap. Little Mick here is definitely on a flyer, heading down the hill and around the final corner. Up towards the line for the McLaren driver. He's going to set a 21.9. Goes 3rd fastest with that lap as Captain Schmeg has left the session. Hopefully he can rejoin as soon as possible. Luxury is going to complete this lap and is going to set a 21.0. Just under 2 tenths off Copper Capado's provisional pole time. KD getting out of the way. He's currently P3 now with a 21.6. Nico out on track has not improved at all in the first sector. Jay is currently P6, just behind his teammate by 0.06 of a second. RF1 Tom appears that he might be saving up some battery, getting ready for a flying lap. Coral appears to be pushing through the first sector. We'll see what the clock says to the first sector split. Says he is up by just under 1/10 of a second. You can see how careful you have to be on the accelerator around this circuit in these conditions. You have to be so very patient. You have to be very careful with the curbs as well. As KD slows down to try and get out of the way of the Aston Martin on a flying lap. Up the hill towards turn 9. An incredible corner. Very, very tricky in the wet. Remains to be very tricky in the dry as well, which we are set to have in the race. It's meant to be dry conditions for the race. Up towards the turn 12, sweep it down to third gear, back on the power, nice and easy. Eventually reaches full throttle. The back end squirms about as he applies the power, but he keeps it under control. Down the main straightaway, up towards the line. It's going to be a 21.4. He jumps to fourth, both of the Aston Martin cars. Looking pretty solid in qualifying at the moment. We've still got 3 cars yet to set a lap time. JBH, Black Bull are the 2 Mercedes, as well as Axis, of course, our championship leader. KD low on battery, but he is on a push lap, making his way through turns 1 and 2. Around the long sweeper, that is turn 3. A lot of throttle modulation as he tries to keep the back end in check. You can see as well it's sporting the Vegas livery, which I'm quite a fan of. I think it's a stellar looking design, as I believe someone has improved. Was that little Mick? No, it wasn't. Must have been Tom then. Yes, he's improved by 5.5 tenths. KD has invalidated his lap somewhere around turn 5. Perhaps he ran wide at the exit of turn 5. Validated the lap. Sorter goes back into pit lane. We got Axis out on track. There'll be something to keep an eye on, in fact, is the pit lane. It was addressed earlier in an update. There's a notorious bump that's been in the game since the very beginning here at Barcelona. It's taken quite a few drivers by surprise. But a couple months ago, Codemasters brought around an update that addressed that problem and supposedly fixed it. But in turn, it created a new problem. It spawned these invisible barriers that drivers can hit spontaneously. So Codemasters had to undo the update. So the bump is still there at pit lane entry, so you do have to be very, very careful as Axis begins a flying lap. He almost didn't begin this flying lap with that big slide he had at turn 13, but he kept it under control. Down into turns 1 and 2. The opening chicane on the racetrack. 4th gear through both corners as we head around the sweeper of turn 3. Getting close to that white line on the outside. It's the full width of the circuit heading into turn 4. 4th gear back on the power. Eventually reaching full throttle, utilising that outside curb. 3rd gear on the power. The back end slides, but he keeps it under control. Into the chicane complex of 7 and 8. 4th gear. Keeping away from that sausage curb on the inside. We'll head around the sweeper of turn 9 and onto the back straightaway. Car looking pretty good, pretty stable. Get on the brakes from 183 miles an hour down to an apex speed of just over 60. Keeping in 4th gear round turn 12, hugging that inside line the whole way round. Round turn 13, the car's squirming, but he keeps it under control. Round the final corner, 5th gear, back on the power, using that outside curb, crossing the line. It's good enough for provisional pole by a decent margin as well, a 1:20.440. Luxury out on track, currently up by a tenth to the first sector. Make his way towards the middle sector split. Clock says for the Red Bull driver, he's up by 0.2 of a second. Little Mech is just in front of him as well. Not too sure if he's going to improve. He's quite a few seconds down from where he should be, compared to Luxury at least. Keep our eyes on the Red Bull driver then. Oh, as he almost throws it away there at turn 13. Just about kept it on the tarmac. Crosses the line, jumps to P2, a 20.650. Cupado out on track. We got JBH making his way out of turn 4, yet to set a lap time. Of course, Rebel in the Alpine recently secured the team's championship. He's looking for a decent result here. Try and help his teammate in the championship fight. Making his way out of turn 5 and down towards turn 6. JBH making his way round turn 9. Heading on to the back straight away. Yellow's out. I believe that's RF1 Tom. If I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. Trying to get out of the way. He's run out of fuel as well. That's what prompted the yellow flags in the first place. KD out on track. Jay's up by a 10th in the first sector. Rebel, apparently, according to the minimap, he's purple to the middle sector. The conditions are evidently improving as well over the course of this qualifying session. The times have tumbled. Oh, did Tom get in the way there? That McLaren turned quite sharply and quite late. Get out of the way of the Alpine. Saucy will cross the line. He'll set the 6th fastest time of the session so far with the 21.454, 2 thousandths in front of Coral P7. So JBH, he'll be happy with that up to 4th. What can the Brazilian do? To the first sector split. He's up by just under 3.5 tenths right off the bat. Out of the turn 4 sweeper. Down into the turn 5 hairpin. All the car squirms on the brakes. Copo Cupado keeps it under control, keeps it on the tarmac. See if he's lost any time though. For the rest of this middle sector so far, he's looked under control. Around the turn 9 sweeper. Stable, but was it fast? Clock says. Well, it definitely was fast. He's up by 6.5 tenths. With that alone, it's enough to take back provisional pole position. But I'm sure he can find more time here through the final sector. The car slides a little bit. It's looking quick. On the ragged edge. Trying to find every bit of grip. And it's good enough for a 20.167. Takes back provisional pole by just under 3/10 of a second. Little Mech out on track. Saucy beginning a flying lap. Down towards turn 1. Building up to a speed of 193 miles an hour. And need I remind you, that's without DRS. Down that main straight. Reaching speeds of just under 200 miles an hour. Shows you how long that straight is. And how important the exit speed is out of the final corner. Saucy is up by just under 3/10 of a second to the first sector split. Jay appears to be getting ready for a flying lap. KD on a flying lap, making his way up towards the line. Good enough for P4. 20.770. It's the time he's done. Saucy heading up towards the chicane. Turns 7 and 8. 4th gear. Eventually reaching full power. We'll head around the sweeper of turn 9. Oh, I think he's back down a lap. Hang on, what does the clock say? He has. I thought that was too slow. It looked way too slow through there. What the hell? Oh, excavator. Okay. I was wondering what the hell that noise was outside. Jay making his way through the turn 7 and 8 chicane up towards the sweeper of turn 9. And it appears he might have backed out of the lap as well. See what the clock says. He's not even using battery. Should have queued onto that earlier. Coral making his way through turns 1 and 2. We got 2.5 minutes left in this qualifying session, so all to play for now. The conditions won't get any better than what they are now. He's up by 2/10 of a second for the first timing intermediate. Towards the turn 5 hairpin from 6th gear. We'll drag it down to 2nd gear. A short shift. There it is. Up to 3rd. 4th gear. 5th gear. Someone's improved. KD's retired. I think that was Nico who jumped up just then. He goes 5th fastest with a 20.936. Onto the back straightaway. Using all of the curve on the outside. Across the middle sector split. The clock says he's up by 4/10 of a second. Saucy has looped it at turn 8. Should have enough time though to do one more lap. He isn't low on fuel either. Copacabana now out on track as well. Coral, 2 corners left for him. McLaren's going to cross the line as well. It's RF1 Tom. He's done a 20.520. Good enough for third. Coral jumps to 6th. A 20.851. Luxury out on track, getting out of the way of the Williams. It's not Nico. It must be Jay then. Jay making his way around the sweeper at turns 10 and 11. The backhand not really cooperating there. Had to straighten the car out ever so slightly. The camera angle disguised it. Oh, as he kicks it sideways as well. Out of turn 12. I think he's backed out of the lap. He's low on fuel. He'll struggle to do one more run. Rebel's out on track too. He's making his way up towards the first sector split. Clock says he's up by 7/10 of a second. Axis making his way towards the first sector split as well. The clock says for the championship leader, he's up by 2/10. Luxury making his way down into turns 1 and 2. Third gear through the first corner. Fourth gear through the second. Up to 5th. Keeping it in 5th gear around the long sweeper. Up to 6th now. Clock says to the first sector split, he's up by 2/10 of a second. Axis making his way towards the middle sector split. Rebel crosses that same split. He's up by 1.4 seconds. Black Baller retires from qualifying. Copacabana begins his final run. Axis is up by almost 4/10. Luxury, he's making his way through turns 7 and 8. Only one corner left for Rebel. He's looking at a huge improvement if he doesn't invalidate. The Alpine driver will cross the line, jump up to 4th with a 20.5. Luxury making his way through the final sector. Axis crosses the line and takes provisional pole for himself. Can Copacabana respond? Can Luxury respond to that lap time? 2 corners left for the Red Bull driver. The final turn, turn 14, 5th gear, back on the power. Using all the curb on the outside, crosses the line. It's good enough. A 19.6, but what about the Brazilian? He's up by 4/10. He loses control a little bit though at turn 10 and runs wide. Loses time as a result. Is that little mistake the deciding factor? Copacabana has been brilliant throughout this qualifying session. Has he thrown it away through the final sector? He has. Oh, hello Williams. Bang! Between the 2 cars. Who is that? Is that Jay or is that Nico? It's Nico. The 2 cars collide and a 5 grid place penalty for Nico. Is he the only one who got a penalty? Ooh, I can't tell. We'll have to wait for the final results screen. But Nico, Copacabana flashing at pit lane entry. Tom comes back in, that's it. Qualifying over. A great lap then from Luxury, secures him pole position for this Spanish Grand Prix. What drama. Axis, he won't be too displeased about that, I'm sure. Starting on the front row, where he needs to be. If I'm not mistaken as well, for the driver who starts P2, you actually get the inside line heading down towards turn 1. So if he gets a better start, he gets the whole shot. Alright, better have a close look at this leaderboard after qualifying. Is it only one driver who has a grid penalty, or do we have multiple? Just one, and it's Nico. Alright, results then from qualifying. Luxury will start from pole position. Brilliant final lap of a 19.6. Puts him almost 3/10 in front of the championship leader Axis, who will start alongside him on the front row. Copacabana will start from P3. He was looking at it, a huge improvement, but he threw it away in the final sector on his final flying lap. Tom will start alongside him on the second row. Then we have Rebel, Coral, Saucy, KD. Nico will drop down the order. Then we have JBH, Little Mick, Jay, Black Baller, Drag King and Captain Schmeg disqualifying themselves from qualifying after making mistakes earlier on. Race time then, here at Catalunya. Should be dry. Let's have a look. it's dry. Let's see what the conditions are like later on. We can't really see too much of the sky. It does look a bit grey. There's a important thing right here, right now. It is dry, and that opens up some interesting strategies that the drivers are able to do. In the Elite Series race, the majority of the drivers who started on the hard tyre, but the winning strategy was a driver who started on the mediums and did 19 laps. No safety cars, no VSCs if I recall as well. He did 19 laps on the mediums and did the rest of the race on hards. So the mediums can be stretched quite considerably here. And I imagine the soft tyre has a degree of usefulness as well, in either a first stint or a second stint. So you've got a fair few strategies you can try and utilise here at Barcelona, it seems. It is going to be a bit of a long race for anyone trapped in the midfield, though, with how this circuit is characterised. When DRS trains are formed, it's really difficult to get out of them. That's just how it works. We'll get some battling towards the front of DRS trains, but if we get a really, really long train, those in the middle, they're pretty much stuck, and they need either some luck or some really good strategy to try and bail them out of that situation. Oh, I'm quite curious to see how this is all going to pan out. Hopefully it's going to be an interesting event. Shouldn't be too far away now. Hopefully. Hopefully. Man, I wish there was a timer just telling me how long this is going to last. They used to have a timer. Made it a lot easier for me. Now I'm just left here waiting, wondering. Alrighty. Formation lap time. Let's have a look at who's starting on what tyre then for this Spanish Grand Prix. Pretty interesting mix. Not going to lie. Let's run through the order just quickly. Luxury will start from pole position for the Spanish Grand Prix. He's on the hard compound tyre. Championship leader Axis is starting on the mediums alongside him on the front row. We have Copper Capado starting on the mediums as well. RF1 Tom is copying the leader. He's on the hard tyre in P4. Rebel P5 is on the hard compound tyre. Coral in P6. Following his teammate, he's on the mediums. Saucy doing the same in P7. He's on the hard compound tyre. KD, the Lonely Ferrari, he's on the hard tyre in P8. We have JBH in 9th on the hard compound tyre as well. Little Mick rounding out the top 10 on the mediums. J in P11 is on the medium tyre as well as Black Baller in P12. Drag King in P13. Nico, after his grid penalty, will start from 14th, second last. He's on the mediums too. And Captain Smeg in 15th and last position is on the soft compound tyre. He's saying, screw it, I'm going all out right at the beginning of the race. You kind of have to respect that, because he's really got nothing to lose from 15th on the grid. Get rid of the tyre graphic, at least for now. We'll bring that back later on when strategies start to become quite important. But now we can enjoy the action of the start. Now Luxury, if I do recall, will be starting from the racing line. So the outside heading towards turn 1. Axis is on the medium tyre. It should give him a better start with the softer compound. He is on the dirtier side of the racetrack though. See Luxury trying to get his tyres nice and warm. So Axis, he has every opportunity to get a great start here. Take that inside line heading down towards turn 1 and lead. Being on the medium tyres, he's going to have a lot more grip compared to the hard runners. He might be able to break away early on, and if he does, really does put himself into a great strategical advantage. But that's if he gets past Luxury, heading down towards turn 1. Everyone's lined up, ready to run then. We got 5 red lights. We're underway here at Barcelona. It's a nice start from the front row. Who's got the better start though? Is it Axis or is it Luxury? Down towards turn 1 we go. Copacabana will ride on board. Axis has the inside line. He'll take the lead heading out of turn 2. Meanwhile, further back, we've got 2x2 action. Heading around the long sweeper of turn 3. JBH and Rebel side by side. Running wide as Williams, it might be Jay. Using all of the racetrack on the outside of turn 3. Head around the sweeper of turn 4. Mick gets by Jay. As we head up towards turn 5, almost 3 wide action. Oh, running wide is Mick. 3 wide in the middle of turn 5 there. As we head down the hill. Round 6 and towards turn 7. Jay, does he get in front? No! Black ball around the outside. Takes P10. A fine move right there. Onto the back straight away now. Heading towards turn 10. Copacabana and Luxury battling away for P2 out in front. Got battles further back as well. So plenty of drama, plenty of action on the opening lap, but everyone's kept it under control. It's Axis who leads the way. Oh, poor braking board there. The 100-meter board heading into the final corner got absolutely annihilated. Axis lead from Copacabana. Then we have Luxury, Tom, Coral, JBH, Rebel, Saucy, KD, Black Baller, the 2 Williams, McLaren of Mick, and then Captain Schmeg and Drag King. Round the sweeper at turn 3. Up towards turn 4. The Brazilian can't let Axis get away from him. Needs to stay with the race leader as best he can. That proved to be the main reason why the medium track worked in the Elite Series race. The leader on the mediums was able to break away, drive off into the distance, and have enough time in hand to just conserve on the hard tyres, not make any mistakes and win the race quite comfortably. For Copacabana, he can't let Axis get away. And Luxury, to his credit on the hard tyre, is following suit. He's not letting go of the top 2 either. Further back, look at this train that forms the midfield, making their way round turn 12. The back end steps out on both Tom's and Coral's car. They head down the hill and around the final corner. Captain Schmeg with a mistake. That's a shame on the soft tyres as well. He needed to be aggressive to try and make up as many positions as possible. But it seems that with that mistake he'll be trapped at the back for a while unless there's a safety car. Around the turn 3 sweeper. Tom trying to hang on to 4th. JBH closing in. Closing in as well as Rebel. Brief look down the inside but didn't fully commit to the move. As we head down towards turn 5. Rebel looking around the outside at the hairpin here. Can he do an over-under? He's got a run going. Not good enough, I'm afraid. He stays in P7. Up the hill. Round the turn 9 sweeper. Onto the back straight. There's our top 3. And 2 seconds back is Tom, the leading driver in this midfield train. Out of turn 11 now into turn 12. So very careful, so very patient around turn 12. Can't get too eager on the accelerator. Can't get too eager too soon. Otherwise the back end can step out on you. Copacabana sets a new fastest lap and he will take the race lead as well. At the beginning of lap 4 of 33, we have a new race leader. Tom under attack from Coral, who moves up into 4th. Down the inside goes the Merc. They make contact. JBH goes into the grass briefly, tumbles down the order. He's now battling KD through turn 3. Up towards turn 4, KD with the outside line. Oh, it seems that JBH has just backed off. He doesn't want a bar of it. Just wants to get back in the train. At the moment he's a bit stuck. Little Mick down the inside, JBH on the outside. Little Mick has the traction and takes P11. JBH down to 12th. I'm not terribly sure if his attempted overtake was intentional. He might have just darted it down the inside to try and avoid contact, because he did come from a fair way back. He had a lot of momentum on his side, but trying to make that overtake work, yeah, it was never going to end well. So I'm going to assume that that attempted overtake was unintentional. He was just trying to make the best of a pretty bad situation. Down the main straight we go. Axis closing in, round the outside, heading into turn 1. Copacabana fights back, they make contact, the Brazilians around. Spin back in front of the field. Thankfully the ghosting system is doing its job. Copacabana is down to 13th position because of the contact. Now he's under attack from Drag King. Will the Alfa Romeo driver have a crack? Not close enough to. He'll stay behind in 14th position. Well, all the work to do now for Copacabana. Battling for the lead. He's dropped all the way down to 13th position. This track, it's notoriously difficult to claw your way up through the order. Axis still has company though. Luxury is behind and he's on the hard compound tyre. Making full use of that harder compound right now. Luxury is doing a great job keeping up with Axis, the race leader. Onto the main straight, it's half a second between the top two. Luxury will close the gap. You can see the overspeed, it's fairly noticeable. Not close enough to attack for the race lead though. Rebel meanwhile will dart down the inside heading into turn 1. Coral fights back. Oh, in an almost mirror image of the previous lap. Oh, Tom loses control, loses time. Saucy had to check up. The Rebel, can he find a way through? Looking around the outside. Tom defending the inside. Tom got awfully loose through turn 3. Lost a little bit of time to the car in front. But luckily for him, he hasn't lost position. Maintains 5th place. Or a bit of a wiggle there for Nico at turn 9. Or rather turn 8 at the sausage curb. Around the sweeper at turn 10. Everyone trapped in this midfield pack. There's really not much you can do. Little Mick looking aggressive. But he just can't find a way through. Nico though might be in trouble. I don't think he'll have DRS. We'll turn on telemetry. Nope. He's dumping his battery as Rebel gets Coral. That is for P3 on the racetrack. Little Mick, not close enough. So Nico, he's dumped all of his battery, as you can see. All gone now. He's going to be fairly vulnerable to those behind if he can't get within 1 second of Blackballer. Change for the lead here at turn 5 of all places. Luxury around the outside. How on earth did he pull that off? Whoa, Luxury's moving a bit. So Luxury up a place. I'm guessing Axis must have made a mistake at turn 4. Opened up the opportunity for Luxury to go around the outside. There we are. Brief change for the lead. Say brief because, well, with how DRS works around here, it's awfully powerful. Axis should get him back. JBH with a 3-second time penalty. I say that, but Axis has actually lost time through that sector. He'll gain it back with DRS. Yeah, that's a bit peculiar. Nico in trouble. Here comes Mick. Through into 9th. JBH closing the gap. He's got momentum. He's not close enough. There's Copacabana as well in 13th. Closing in on this train. Getting ready to do battle with those in front. Try and recover lost places after that moment earlier with Axis at turn 1. Midfield pack. Still formed up. Not a hell of a lot of movement as you'd expect. Everyone just holding shape, holding form, holding position. Rebel Trying to close in on the top two. The gap is 2.1 seconds. Got about 20% battery in his back pocket. Axis looking pretty good with 67%. Luxury, about the same. Rebel's got pace. Yellows are out. It's Drag King. Off on the extra layout. He rejoins. Now in the company of Captain Schmeg. Top two heading down the main straight. Rebel trying to close the gap. Coral in third, followed by Tom, then Saucy. Nico in trouble. Through goes his teammate and JBH. Through turns 1 and 2. Oh, look at Nico fighting back. Had an opportunity there, I think, to try and go around the outside of turn 3, but I think he might have just backed out of it a little bit. Oh, Copacabana. He had a look. He had a genuine look there down the inside. Elected not to go for it. Can't fall. Oh, he's got a run going. Round the outside. This Drag King makes a mistake at turn 3. Rejoins. Now down in 15th position. Certainly seems like a block, man, that after this amount of laps, the mediums have lost their edge, and around is Drag King again. What was he up to? I'm just keeping my eyes on for the moment. What's going on? Had a number of yellows come out. Axis takes Luxury for the race lead. We head around turn 3. Jay off. Rather, no, Drag King again. The amount of incidents he's having, that's quite unnecessary. Frankly. If he doesn't keep control of that car, he'll end up in a barrier and potentially bring out a safety car. Just needs to keep his cool and not push the car. Oh, Jay makes a mistake! Almost loops it at turn 5. A great save. Put his tyres into the grass, lost control, gathered it back up at the apex. He loses the position, but he's still in the race. Drag King pits in. But yeah, the mediums have definitely lost their edge, but from what I've experienced as Drag King retires from the session, from what I've experienced of this race, the medium tyre can last quite a long time. And this is a shame for Luxury. Because of the yellow flags, he won't be able to pass. He'll be able to draw alongside. No, he'll get a prompt to back off. There we go. Yellow flags, aren't they fun? Tom, Coral, battling away. Little Mick and Black Baller change places. Little Mick gives the place back, as you'd expect, because of the Sector 1 yellow flags. Little Mick will try and get the possession back here at turn 4. He has a look down the inside. Rather, JBH, round the outside here at turn 4, almost took the place for himself. Now Corporal Capardo loses control, runs wide. Jay almost had an opportunity to take back a position. Brazilian just losing it on the brakes a little bit. He kept it under control. Just about. Around the sweeper here at turn 12. Rebel has cut down to the gap down to 8.5 tenths. Rebel is moving. Luxury, he won't be close enough to attack. Unlike Saucy, he'll move through down the inside of turn 1. Takes a place, moves up to 5th. Little Mick, JBH, having a crack down the inside. Copper Capardo cuts a bit too much of turn 2, loses time. And as a result, oh, Nico! He was balked by his teammate because he was balked by Copper Capardo. And Nico, in his attempt to try and slow the car down, actually lost control. Managed to gather it back up, but he's now 1.7 seconds behind. Deary me. Talk about a concertina effect. Here's the top three separated by less than a second now. Rebel is very much in this fight. Around turn 12. Now turns 13 and 14. Flat through 13. Bit of a lift, then back on the power and onto the main straight. DRS open on Luxury's car, using some overtake as well. It should be an easy pass for the lead. But what about Rebel? He's a bit too far behind, I'm afraid, as Saucy moves up to 4th. Coral down to 5th, maybe down to 6th. Around the outside looks Tom. They make contact, slight contact. And Tom, he can't move up a place. He stays in P6. JBH, Copper Capado making their way around turn 3. Mercedes on the outside. Down the middle goes the Williams. He's trying to follow the Aston Martin into turn 4 now. Running wide. JBH, he's on the grass. In the gravel. Rejoins in P12. Through the middle sector, you can see the battle in front between Black Baller and Little Mick. Papa Capado trying to hunt them down. Further in front, we've got this 4-car train. Saucy, Coral, Tom and KD. KD, he's kept out of trouble for the most part, from what I can tell. In 7th place. Not where he'd want to be, but the fact that he's still in one piece, I think, is a pretty good situation to be in. Black Baller gets overtaken by 2 cars down the inside at the final corner. Too wide. It's a drag race. Saucy and Coral battle away. Here comes the Williams of Jay. The straight line speed is real. Gets the job done. Moves up into 9th. Around the sweeper. Turn 3. Tom trying to attack Coral. KD watching along in P7. Down the hill. Round turn 6 and towards turn 7 and 8. Climbing up the hill now towards turn 9. Coral's not close enough. Try and attack here, but maybe he'll be able to line up a pass on the main straight on the next lap. Top 3, Luxury, Axis and Rebel. Luxury has broken out a bit of a margin of 0.7 of a second, but Axis, he's still got DRS and he's got plenty of battery to play with. Luxury, not as much. So Axis, I think he'll be just hopeful to try and stay in P2 for at least a little bit, try and save some battery. Got some takers to pit lane as Coral goes down the inside at turn 1. The 2 battle through turn 2. Up towards turn 3, Tom gets in the fight now. Round the sweeper. Up towards turn 4. Coral down the inside here. Tries to get the move done. Saucy trying to hang on. He has the inside line. Heading into the hairpin. Wheel-to-wheel contact there. Down the hill. More contact. This time between Coral and Tom. Through turn 7. Round turn 8. Side by side. Up the hill towards turn 9. Coral has the inside line. As a result, he keeps the position. But he's now 1.1 seconds behind the Red Bull. Coral needs a pretty solid final sector here to try and cut down the margin to Saucy. Saucy might use a little bit of battery here out of turn 12. Excuse me. No, he doesn't. And Coral doesn't either. That's because he's coming to pit lane. Tom's doing the same. Axis closes in. But again, he doesn't go for the lead. He stays behind. Just chilling out at the moment in P2, trying to conserve that battery. 40 in 4th, KD in 5th, followed by Black Baller, JBH, Coral now on hard tyres, Tom on mediums, and he should be able to go to the end of the race on those two. Nice and steady out of pit lane. Got to be careful on cold tyres. It's not quite the same profound effect as in F122, but it is noticeable still. You have to be careful on cold tyres. Top 3. 3 cars separated by just over a second. 2 different strategies going on. We got Luxury and Rebel on the hards. Axis, the championship leader, on mediums. Any takers to pit lane? The answer is no. Everyone stays out. DRS open. We won't see any changes of position. Everyone will hold station as they head towards turn 1. Axis, oh no, he has a look, he goes for it. I thought he'd hold station in P2. No, he's on the attack. And now Rebel has an opportunity to get in the fight. Round turn 3, up towards turn 4. The Alpine's close. Looking round the outside here at the right-handed sweeper. Can't get it done. Luxury with that inside line. He's able to defend that position and hang on to P2. Tom will pass Coral. Copper Capado sets a new fastest lap. Get down into turn 1. Further back, Little Mick under pressure from Jay, Nico, Copper Capado. It's a real shame for the Brazilian. He obviously has pace, but he's stuck in traffic. Really difficult to move through. Stays in behind in 13th place. The only thing you can do is keep your cool and make every opportunity count. That's really all you can do in that kind of position. Takers to pit lane, or taker rather. It's Axis, he's in. Pulls it up. Now where will he come out? Will he have clear air? Or will he have traffic? 2 Mercs are making their way around now. Hard tyres on, way he leaves. I think he'll have clear air to play with. Look at that. Yellow's out. It's a Ferrari. It's KD. I mentioned earlier he's kept it fairly mistake-free. This is the first one of his race. Down to 5th place. He's on tyres that are very dirty. Here comes JBH. He'll go down the inside. Should take KD quite comfortably here. KD tries an over-under. JBH gets loose as a result. That's a nice recovery there from KD. Takes back 5th. For Axis, he's got 1.5 seconds of clear air. Yellows are out again. It's Nico, I believe, making some kind of error at turn 4. Tom, Coral and Jay. 3-car battle here for 10th place at the moment. Or KD getting loose. JBH closing the gap. Looking around the outside as Saucy pits in. Into pit lane goes KD. He's had enough of those tyres. Sector 3 yellows. Oh, it's Copper Capado if I'm not mistaken. It is. Something happening at turn 12 resulting in a spin. And he's back down to 13th place. KD making his way out of the pits now. He's going to lose a few positions because of what happened over at turn 2. He should be in front of Captain Schmeg though. Schmeg not having the best of races here at Barcelona. He'll just be hopeful to make it to the checkered flag. Yellows are out again. It is Nico. He's backwards. He might get disqualified if he's not lucky. Ooh, well, he's very lucky, frankly. He drove backwards for some distance. I'm surprised the game didn't disqualify him. The game's usually pretty slam dunk about that kind of stuff. Rebels in. Luxury stays out for another lap. So the 2 hard runners, although they're on the same strategy in terms of tyres, they're opting for different pit periods. So Rebels in at lap 20. Soft compound tyres, a gamble. Is it a gamble worth taking? Find out. Black Baller's in. Pulls it up nice and early to make sure he doesn't speed. JBH take 4th. Will he take 3rd? I don't believe so. Rebel, 1.5 seconds, 1.6. between himself and Axis, and he's on the soft compound tyre, but he has to make those last. See what he can do. Luxury staying out, opting to go long. Nico gets a 5-second time penalty and proceeds to retire. Luxury runs wide. That will cost him a few tenths there. Surely he pits in this lap. He has to. Yep, he did. Using some of that extra green tarmac on the inside. You really want to try and avoid that bump. It is so bad. Soft tyres then for the Red Bull driver. He will end up behind Axis and Rebel. But by how much? Here come the leaders. Can you hear them fly by? There they go. Luxury disengages the limiter, floors the accelerator, and that's the margin. It's going to grow just a little bit. You see a ghosted Williams here, sitting on the outside of the track. The gap is 4.3 seconds. Really don't think that that longer stint was worth it for Luxury. He's got a hell of a lot of work to do to try and claw down that gap. It appears it's going to be a head-to-head shootout between Axis and Rebel. An important battle for the context of the Drivers' Championship. Down towards the turn 10 sweep up. Rebel closes the gap. Now for Axis, I think you'll probably recognise the sheer speed of Rebel at the moment is going to be very tough to overcome. Is he going to be respectful? Just let him through? Because one thing Axis can try and do is let Rebel lead the way. Look at him, he's moving over. Letting the overtake happen. See, what I think Axis is going to do is try and stay within DRS range of Rebel. Try and not let the Alpine driver drive off into the distance. It's going to be really tough to keep up with him though, even with DRS. Saucy moves through into P6. Little Mick now hovering behind in 8th place. He might have an opportunity to try and go for position as Black Baller gets KD down the main straight at turn 1. You can see the gap extending between the top two. It sits at the moment at 6.5, now 7 tenths. Axis needs to make sure he doesn't make a mistake through this final sector. He can't let Rebel break away. 7 tenths, 7.5. Using some overtake, he has to use it. He stays within a second as he heads around the final corner. Open the DRS slot. Cut down the gap. 8 tenths. 7.5 tenths. 7 tenths. 5.5 tenths as he goes through turns 1 and 2. Did exactly what he needed to do to cut down that gap. Bit of battling going on here. Coral and Tom. 1.5 tenths separating them as KD takes back P10. Tom has a look but does not commit to the move down the inside of turn 4. Axis using that battery. Making sure Rebel doesn't fly away. Rebel, he doesn't have a lot of battery either. They're both pretty equal in terms of that. The gap has extended a bit more though. It's up to 8 tenths as they go into the final sector. Axis needs to be spot on with every apex. Rebel, he's opened up that gap. A little wiggle though. That's cost him a little bit of time. We're talking mere thousandths in it. And I think Axis, he's got himself some extra DRS. That he appears to be not using. He had the light pop up on the NFT, I saw it. He didn't use it. And And the gap wasn't cut down, so it wasn't a visual glitch. I swear he had DRS available to him. Evidently, from his point of view, he didn't have it available. That'd be my only guess. These two are going back and forth, aren't they? Black Ball and KD. Be an interesting battle to see who finishes in the final spot in the top 10. Might be catching up to Copper Capado as well. Well. Rebel. Bit of a break there. Gap's opened up to 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 seconds. Or running wide. You can't do that, Axis. You can't give yourself warnings. I feel like the best thing you can do, the only thing you can do is just keep a level head. Just keep hitting every apex. Try and not make a mistake. Don't need to push all out. You just need to drive consistently, because these soft tyres, they will fall off at some point. Jay into pit lane as well. Does he have damage? That'd be the only reason why I think he'd be in. Have a look. No, this appears to be a strategic stop. Soft tyres are on. He's down to 13th place. Sacrificed all that track position. He's not going to get back. Unless he does have damage on that front wing and the team just refused to repair it. Either or. It's a shame. He's down in 13th now. 2.3 seconds to margin. Rebel. Slightly extra surplus in battery. 19% compared to 13% for Axis. Crossing the line now. 8 laps to go here at Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. It is luxury. 3.3 seconds back. Too far away from the top two. Ultimately going longer on those hards really didn't pay off. If those softs stay alive, the best he can hope for is trying to nab second. Don't think he'd be catching Rebel at this point. If the softs hang on, of course. Coral and Tom battling away for 4th place on track. Heading down the hill and around the kink at turn 6. Through 7. Then 8 and up towards turn 9. Saucy 2 seconds back. He's on fresher medium compound tyres. Can he close down that gap with the laps remaining? Can he get in the fight at the very least? Round the sweeper at 12. Towards the final 2 corners. 4.5 tenths to margin. Gap between the top 2 has increased to 2.8 seconds. DRS open on Tom's McLaren. Looks but doesn't commit. Kind of tell that Tom's playing a longer game. Perhaps he might be a bit worried about Saucy. KD, with no battery, moves up into 8th place. This battle will probably be ongoing from here to the end of the race. So yeah, perhaps Tom is thinking, look, if I battle Coral right now, we're going to lose time. We're going to drag Saucy into this. He's on better tyres. His Copper Capado makes a mistake at turn 3. He rejoins down in 12th place. It's a real shame what kind of race the Brazilian has had. He's put together pretty decent qualifying. He looked quick. Couldn't put it together at the end though. Started 3rd. He's in the fight at the front. Down in 13th now. And I have a feeling that's where he'll stay, because Jay, he's on 2 lap old soft, so. 4 seconds to margin now. Tom, will he attack this time around, or will he stay behind? Goes down the inside. With this kind of pass, Neither driver loses time to P6. So that's a nice calm overtake there from Tom Coral. He'll try and counter-attack, I assume, on the next lap. Maybe a bit after that. We'll have to wait and see. Saucy, he's doing great. Cutting down that gap 10th by 10th. As Copper Capado retires from the session. Fair play, I guess. I'd be pretty upset as well. After having a solid race. Well, solid looking race ahead. And ultimately end up in the dirt, in the grass, after an incident. Tough event, but that's racing sometimes. You just have to make do with the bad times. Evidently, Copper Capado's just had enough. Coral close, but he won't be close enough to attack into turn 1. Unless he dive bombs it, which he doesn't. Luxury has got the hustle on. Those soft tyres are indeed lasting. He is catching Axis. Black Baller, KD, fairly close together on track as well. So we've got a few battles up and down the order. This is the battle for P2. Axis in huge trouble, it seems, on those hard tyres. Not much older than the two other drivers, Rebel and Luxury. They're not much older at all. But they just don't have the grip. Those hard tyres have nothing. And those soft tyres, they continue to hang on. And we're going to see a change for second. There's very little that Axis can do about it. Luxury moves up into P2. But I think it's too little, too late to go for the race lead. Coral closes in as well. Looks down the inside heading into turn 1. Now with that overtake, they're going to lose time to Saucy in P6. Look at the gap come down, 1.4 seconds. You need to be careful with how they battle, otherwise they're going to bring a third member into the fray. KD holding down 8th place at the moment, keeping Black Baller at bay. Axis, he's only going to have a few opportunities to try and get Luxury back. Luxury, I don't think will just pull away from Axis, but what I can imagine is Luxury holding a decent sized margin, like he's currently holding right now, of about 6/10, and that margin's going to be really tough to cut down, even with the help of DRS. Let's see here, 7/10 is the gap. We've got 3 laps to go. Well, it appears that even with 7/10 that margin might not be enough. Axis has a look. They couldn't fully commit down the inside, so maybe 7/10 might be just enough margin. Tom moves through. He's into 4th, but their continuing battling has brought Saucy into the fray. The Red Bull driver's in it as JBH retires from the session with only a few to go. I'm not terribly sure what that was all about. There you go. We're down to 11. So the battle's properly on then for 4th. Is the battle still on for 2nd? Well, if Axis wants to pass, I don't think he'll be doing this. He might be able to do it this lap. It all depends on when that AI leaves pit lane and shifts the yellow flag zone. Yellow flags are still out. There we go. 6/10 is the margin. Axis is a bit closer this time around. Will he go for the overtake this lap? I honestly don't think so. I reckon he'll stay behind. I'm wrong. He goes for it. That's a very, very tricky thing to do for himself, because Luxury can play this smart, give himself DRS for the final lap, and take second. I don't think Axis thought about that. Coral under pressure now from not just Tom. Saucy's now in the fray. 3 cars properly in this fight now for 4th. Got a battle still on for 8th as well. Black Baller close. Not close enough to attack. And we got a battle for 10th as well. Captain Schmeck, he might have an opportunity to try and finish in the top 10. He's on very old medium zone and not going to feel great. Yeah, I honestly don't think Axis thought about that all too much. He's basically left the gate wide open for Luxury to move back through on this final lap. Onto the main straight we go. DRS open, dumping that battery. Is Axis fast enough? The answer is no. Luxury moves back through into second. And Axis needs to put together quite a good lap, and it hasn't started well at turn 2. He's lost about a 10th, and he's using up the battery in response out of turn 3. Coral, Tom, side by side, making contact, I think. Saucy tries to get close, tries to get involved as we head around the sweeper of turn 3. The Red Bull's close. Potential overtake? Not quite. Doesn't go for the move here at turn 4. Got a really nice run, though. An opportunity to try and go down the inside. Doesn't take it. He stays behind. Black Ball has lost time, it appears, to KD, who is now trying to attack Little Mick, who is on 18 lap old hards. Axis wasn't close enough to attack at turn 10. That's it. That mistake there has meant he's going to finish in 3rd. What a fine drive from Rebel. A great strategy put together. He'll cross the line to win the Spanish Grand Prix. Luxury will finish in 2nd. Axis in 3rd. Who will finish in 4th? It appears it's going to be Coral in the Aston Martin. Makes his way onto the main straight. P4 for him. Followed by Tom. A great recovery from Saucy. Got close. But he ultimately finishes in 6th. It appears that Little Mick will hang on to 7th as well. I did notice he and KD were battling. KD must have lost time during their battles. He finishes 8th in front of Black Baller, and Jay will complete the top 10 with Captain Schmeg, our final finisher. There we are. Black Baller given driver of the day honours. See how they did in the final results screen. But for now, it's time for the podium celebrations. Well put together race for Rebel. Put together exactly the right kind of strategy to win this race. Won by a decently comfortable margin as well. Luxury finishing in P2, and our championship leader Axis completing the podium. The unofficial results then of the Spanish Grand Prix. From 5th of the grid, Rebel finish on the top step with fastest lap as well. Luxury home in P2, followed by Axis in P3. Coral 4th, followed by Tom, Saucy, Mick, KD. Black Baller from 12th, he finishes 9th. And we have Jay and Captain Schmeg, our final finisher. JBH is classified in 12th, and our DNFs include Copper Cupado, Just Nico, and Drag King, our first retirement of the session. We started with 15, we have 12 classified, we finished with 11. Rebel, I believe this is his 2nd win of the season. I'll have to double check that afterwards. No, a fine drive from our top 3 today. But it's game on with 2 rounds to go. Axis will score 20 points with a P3 finish. That will mean he will have a 23-point lead heading into the final 2 rounds of the championship. One of which is a sprint. So there are still plenty of points to play for, with only 2 rounds to go. A final congratulations to our top 3. Congratulations to Rebel on winning this Spanish Grand Prix. But I think, folks, with everything said and done, now time for us to wrap up the stream. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we will see you next week for round 14 of the championship at Yas Marina Circuit for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Until then, it's goodbye.